Hello everybody, welcome to Better Than Food Book Reviews. I am Cliff Sargent, best hair on YouTube. Good to see you. How y'all doing? Let's try something. Today is an experiment, because this is the first review of a book that was submitted to me. This is a book that I am happy, in a way, to say is not published yet. I'm the first one to tell everybody about it, and this is sort of like the film premiere at the festival, and it's brand new, and now all y'all with any clout have the ability to pick up on this and get it published. So, you've never heard of this dude, because he's brand new. Brand new. Brand spanking fucking new. Alex Manning submitted this to me a couple of months ago, a couple of months back. Paid me fair and square. I took the month to read it. I loved it. I got in touch. We had a talk. And now here I am. That simple. So if you're a publisher, an agent, a well-connected individual, a benevolent somebody, if you're a producer in acquisitions with a production company and you're looking to adapt a book from a fresh, new, young author and one that's going to be like the next sleeper indie underdog hit at the box office, his email is below. Look no further. The book is called Test Situations, or Ice Cream, Beijing, Brooklyn, Hate. I Skyped with Alex immediately upon finishing his manuscript, and I had a couple of glasses of wine while doing so, if you know what I mean, but we had a brilliant conversation, and I learned a little about what he was going for, melding in his past, his very intense real experiences all over the world. And I was, of course, curious about how much of it actually made its way into the novel, how much the novel was autobiographical. And he definitely opted to plead the fifth, and which was brilliant, right? Because if it was, depending on how much of it is true, and of course after you read it you'll be wondering the same, you see, if it was true he didn't want to spoil it, and if it was false he didn't want to spoil it. He didn't want to spoil the reality of the situation, considering this is a novel of an attempt, really desperate attempt at redemption. Which led me to the opinion, the very strong opinion now, that how much of the novel is autobiographical no author should reveal, ever. Despite, of course, how much the audience would love to know. Whatever the author's real life be, doesn't matter. The book is what I'm reviewing. And it's good. Real good. I immediately liked Manning from the beginning. It's simple fiction. It's easy to read if you're reading the nicely edited, as if you're reading the nicely edited journal of kind of a self-deprecating guy who's just trying to make it in modern day New York City. And it's rough out there. And by make it, I mean just live. I don't mean even try to accomplish anything grandiose. I mean just like fucking survive. Like have a house, like live somewhere and not have to sleep on the street. It's like somewhere between Midnight Cowboy and a Vice article or essay back when they were good. We find Manning, who's coming back from Beijing, China, broke, jobless, no prospects, robbed of something, but we're not really sure what. He just comes back kind of like a wreck, sort of like broken, hopeless. There's more than a little desperation and yearning for foundation, but in no way is he someone who's just going to sit around and feel sorry for himself. You feel like this guy has already really lived quite a bit, and he's kind of capable of picking himself up and getting himself back on track, sort of. But I mean, I was laughing out loud within the first several pages, and I do not laugh easily with books, ladies and gentlemen, but the humor was spot on. For example, it's kind of like a non sequitur, it's kind of out of context, but the only advice my dad gave me on the subject of women or dating was on the way to a classmate's birthday party in 6th grade. When you're picking a girlfriend, try to pick someone like Mom, he advised. I said, that's gross. End of conversation. He never mentioned women again. There is a cinematic quality to the manuscript, sort of like, maybe like traces of Woody Allen sprinkled with kind of this contemporary drama set in Beijing and in New York City, involving a young man who's lived more life than anyone else around him at his age, paid dearly for it, lost everything, and is trying to start over again in the hardest city in America. It's perfectly relatable to anybody who's just trying to get by in New York City. Even if you don't live in New York City, any city in general, you can totally relate to this kind of struggle. You see, of course, if it was just a cute story of some 20-something... You see, of course, if it was just some cute story of a 20-something in New York and life is hard and the struggle is real, then pay no attention to it. you know? Fuck that shit. But you see it takes a turn. There are some twists, sure. Some dark, some functional, all of them motivated, but where it really sinks into your gut is when the entire book takes a fucking 180 into a pit of absolutely terrifying reality. When you understand why he's here, who he is, what's happened to him, and most importantly, what he's done. The writing is minimal, it wastes no time, it's economical. It possesses a very clever sensibility, laced with deadpan humor, and remains insightful without ever being pretentious. I don't even like to bring up that word for anything, but it really is. I mean, this thing just like, it moves, you know? Self-deprecating in the right ways, but not self-effacing, right? There's a difference, I think. I really do. I think, you know, you can be critical of yourself without being a pussy. If you're a young man in America, the territory is all too familiar. Disappointment with college, the dating struggle, disillusionment, traveling to Asia, culture shock, fucked up expat culture, foreign disillusionment, but nothing in the story really prepares you for the actions that lead our character to experience an incomprehensible level of guilt, shame, and subsequently deeply challenges you, to determine whether or not you sympathize with him any longer at all. Perhaps you shouldn't sympathize with our character. I can't convince myself I do, but I'm still wondering about it, which is why it's a great book, you know? But you can certainly empathize with him, right? This guy's in his 20s living under a church in fucking Brooklyn somewhere, just trying to get by and possibly find some real human connection with a culture that is obsessed with shit like girls. While other regulars slaved away on laptops, I would sip my coffee and turn the pages of one of the books I'd found, going out of my way to rescue whatever free books were left out by that kind and generous stranger became a habit. My high school teacher, and its cover, hailed Henry David Thoreau's Walden an American classic, but I'd always been a skeptic. Slowly poring over its pages, my undivided attention separated me from the writers, screenwriters, and bloggers who tapped their souls into laptops. The inability to relate with people his age in this culture, due to indeed being homeless, is a powerful element of the story, right? Homelessness, it would seem, feels essentially like a uniform you wear, and it's rough, and you get the feeling that it is fucking rough, you know? You begin, instead of this odd anxiety and like something like hunger where you just hope this dude gets into like a warm place with like a steak before he like chops his own hand off and eats it, you know, you're sort of cheering Alex on, this main character. You're sort of cheering him on as he makes small increments in doing what was thought completely impossible, especially nowadays, which is living essentially rent-free in the most expensive place in America. And of course you're privy to all of his thoughts. It's impossible to hate people for being successful. That's the American dream. That was the American dream, but now for these Cubans up the street, it's an impossible dream. The only way the cycle can change is if the heirs of millionaires open too many boutique barber shops in a saturated market and blow their inheritance, returning them to the bottom of the food chain, thus presenting an opportunity to the fittest Cuban. At once I assumed I wasn't the first to uncover the world's social injustice. My bubble of self-worth devalued as quickly as it spiked. I had discovered something everybody knew, like the time I discovered masturbating. I'm not the guy who starts a revolution. I'm the guy who blows his inheritance. It reads like a contemporary and much darker Ask the Dust. Deeply disturbing. Alex told me he was inspired by a fellow named James T. Farrell who wrote a book called My Days of Anger. I have not read it yet, but I plan to do so as soon as possible. You can get in touch with Alex at the email in the description box, and you guys can talk, and maybe he'll send you his stuff. Hopefully someone out there with some sort of pull or clout is intrigued enough to hit him up and get some sort of deal going, because this thing needs to get out, and it deserves more than just being self-published and like floating off into the ether on Amazon, the digital graveyard of literature. I've read some contemporary fiction about people, again, from young people in New York City, but most of the stuff that they're pimping out at all these fucking like boutique bookshops, I just get bored stiff, man. I mean, I'm telling you, nothing has any blood or comes from any real deep, struggle, right? That's why like Karl of Knausgaard, he's found the struggle. Again, it's a very humorous but mercilessly self-critical examination of one's reflection in the mirror. It's rough, it's funny, I loved it, I'll read it again. I can't sympathize with this character, again, by the end of the story, but I can empathize, and that's fucking amazing. You see, that's why literature is powerful. Very, very powerful. It has the ability, because it's been genetically programmed inside us, to try and understand other people, right? It's one of the most powerful acts of human communication. And I was impressed. Deeply, deeply impressed. My instincts, as much as anyone knows their instincts, told me it was desperate. Now or never. My instincts in Beijing pushed me into love, then fucked me over. But they helped me rebuild in Brooklyn, then fucked me over again. Finally, I saw them as they really are. Unreliable. If a drug would cut them loose, get it in my blood, stick it in my bones. I never asked to be so human. I'm a fuck up, and it's good to finally know. Just when I found someone to carry me over the finish line, I trip and fall and smash my face into the ground and all but die. My brain spins in on itself to the point where it doesn't know when to act, or when to want, or when to fuck, or love, or I don't know, or I don't know, or I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. I can speak for the perspective of a young man, but I believe that most people can find periods wherein that last sentence in their minds, ends like that. I don't know, 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 I don't know. And I don't think, it's so funny, because that is such a common kind of like ending to a thought in a panic attack. Where you're just like, I don't know if you ever have like if you ever have like a life crisis of any sort, it's sort of just like, that's where it stops. I don't know, I don't know, I don't know, I don't know. And I've never actually seen that written down literature before, and it was a really powerful, he utilized it very well. I thought that was nice. It's a novel about guilt, obviously. But all of us feel guilty. Everybody's guilty. Nobody's getting out of this shit clean, right? And it's better than food. It's better than food. Always remember that life is far too short to read bullshit, and help this guy out if you can. All right. Thanks, Alex. Thanks, everybody. Please subscribe and donate on PayPal or Patreon. Really appreciate all of the help and all of the views. We're like steadily going up. Kind of getting around, hovering around 9,000. Gonna be 10,000 soon. Maybe I'll do a special video or something. I don't know. We'll see. But I'm serious to all you publishers out there. Publish this guy. Do it! Have a great day, everybody. Talk to you soon. Ciao.